My father, whose Irish ancestors came and immigrated to Boston, served in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, and as a police officer. My older brother served honorably in Vietnam before losing his life to the long-term effects of Agent Orange exposure. These experiences gave me a deep understanding of hardship, strengthening my empathy for others and instilling in me a profound respect for the strength of families and communities. These foundations have shaped my approach to service throughout my life. As Senator Cruz mentioned, first as a commissioned U.S. Army cavalry officer and tank commander, then as a Texas State Police Commissioner, and now in my work at the Department of the Interior. Over the past year, serving as a steward of America's natural resources has been more than a professional opportunity, it's been a calling. My faith, rooted in care, responsibility, and respect for creation, aligns naturally with work that protects public lands and wildlife. I carry into this mission a sense of purpose rooted in humility and gratitude. I am also grateful for the dedicated career men and women that serve faithfully in the Fish and Wildlife Service and the National Park Service. I am inspired each day by their public service. I'm grateful for the opportunity to work with our tribal, state, local, and external partners, as well as our gateway communities and the hundreds of friends groups. This is a collaborative effort. As Assistant Secretary, my focus will be straightforward: keeping our national parks open, safe, and properly staffed for the families who visit them, supporting the men and women of the Fish and Wildlife Service in their work to recover species and sustain healthy habitat, and confronting the deferred maintenance backlog that affects both visitor safety and the conditions of these treasured places. I will work hand in hand with our state, tribal, and local partners, and with the gateway communities whose livelihood depend on these lands to advance both conservation and access. In closing, I want to share a moment that defines this vision. After this year's Artemis II mission, the first time Americans flew around the moon in more than 50 years, the mission commander, who by his own account was not a religious man, described being so overwhelmed by the vision from space of our Earth illuminated by the sun, that back aboard the recovery ship, he broke down in tears at the simple sight of a chaplain's cross. Recently, while at Yosemite National Park, I awoke to see the sun cresting above Half Dome. And I was also overwhelmed with that same sense of awe and grace. It is that moment that I hope each American can share in some way, an experience, that our nation's children can find comfort not in the virtual world, but in the Creator's world. Our national parks, our wildlife refuges, are the salvation of the American soul. I commit to you and the committee I will remain an unwavering steward of the precious resources under my watch while ensuring Americans can enjoy public lands safely, responsibly, and fully today and for generations to come. Thank you again for this opportunity to appear before you, and I am prepared to answer your questions.
Thank you. Thank you, and welcome to your family, and thank you for being here. Thank you for your service to our country in more ways than one. To begin this, we have 3 standing yes or no questions that we ask all nominees who appear before us. So I'm going to ask you these pretty straightforward questions. Do you agree, if confirmed, to appear before this committee or designated members of this committee and other appropriate committees of this Congress to provide information subject to appropriate and necessary security protections with respect to your responsibilities?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you agree to ensure that testimony, briefings, documents, and electronic and other forms of communication of information are provided to this committee and its staff and other appropriate committee in a timely is the key there, timely manner?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And finally, do you know of any matters which you may or may not have disclosed that may place you in a conflict of interest if you are confirmed?
No, ma'am.
All right. With that, I am going to start with my round of questioning. I am going to mention this morning I had an interesting experience with the National Park Service myself, and that I was given a sort of a preview of the undercroft of the Lincoln Memorial, which will be opening tomorrow to the public. It is an extremely interesting and extremely well done presentation of how the monument was built, It'll be a welcome respite for some visitors because it's air conditioned in there and has great bathrooms, which all visitors are looking for, but it's a real testament, I think, to the National Park Service and their talents to have this done in 3 years. So I hope anybody listening makes sure that on a visit to Washington, you make sure you do that, since it's going to be open from 9 to 9.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
It was great. It was great. So recently, the U.S. District Court of the District of Columbia vacated the biological opinion that governed consultations under the Endangered Species Act for coal mining activities in states that have primacy under SMCRA. You and I have already talked about this. This leaves states like my state of West Virginia in tremendous limbo with respect to how the ESA reviews will be carried out. We did have Director Nesvik in front of the committee, as Senator Whitehouse mentioned, and I asked him to make the same commitment that I'm asking of you right now. Do I have your commitment to work with the Office of Surface Mining, state regulators, including the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection, and the mining industry on a path forward that allows ESA consultations to take place in an efficient manner and avoid unnecessary delays in the permitting process in the wake of this court decision?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. So let's talk about permitting reform. As you know, we are in dire need of permitting reform. This is something we've said for years, and Senator Whitehouse and I are working with our staffs very diligently with the Energy and Natural Resources Committee. We need the ability to build critical infrastructure in a timely manner, but we need to do it the right way. And one of the biggest hurdles projects can face is under the ESA consultation. In this position, how will you work with Director Nesvik to ensure that the implementation of the ESA protects endangered species without a stonewalling effect?
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Madam Chairman. That's a great question. And yes, I have spent a great deal of time with Director Nesvik, as well as the Fish and Wildlife staff and other staff members within the Department of the Interior. I think that the fundamental reality is that many things, while well-intended, become subject to the unintended consequences of their own action. I think that is reflective in the Endangered Species Act. I think when it was established in 1973 and passed, I believe at that time by a unanimous vote, it was, as some people called it, a wildlife management process in which the objective was to recover and delist species. Consequently, the delisting of species should be received with great fanfare and celebration. It should be something that we continue to work toward, rather than something to battle against. And it seems that in some sort of a perverse sense that when we have successes, we are immediately sued.